The safe was left open on purpose. Anyone watching closely would notice it, but Daniel Harper pretended not to care. He stood at the top of the stairs of his Toronto home, listening to the quiet hum of the house, his heart beating faster than he wanted to admit. For years, Daniel had built his life on numbers, contracts, and risk calculations. He was a self-made millionaire, respected in business circles, feared by competitors, and emotionally distant from almost everyone. Trust, to him, was a luxury he could not afford. That morning, as he left for work, he glanced one last time at the heavy steel safe in his study, the door wide open, stacks of cash and documents visible. This was his test, and he believed he already knew the outcome. Maria Alvarez arrived at the house shortly after noon, as she did every weekday. She took off her winter boots carefully at the door, shaking the snow from her coat. Canada was still new to her. The cold, the quiet streets, the polite distance between people, all of it felt different from the loud, warm chaos of the life she had left behind. Maria was in her early 30s, a single mother who had immigrated 2 years ago with her 8-year-old son, Leo. She cleaned houses for a living, working long hours, saving every dollar she could. Daniel's house was the biggest job she had. It paid well, but it also intimidated her. Everything inside felt fragile and expensive, like one wrong move could ruin her entire future. She cleaned room by room, humming softly to herself, thinking about Leo's school project due next week. When she reached the study, she froze. The safe was open. Maria stopped breathing for a moment. She had never seen so much money in one place. Her eyes moved instinctively to the door, then back to the safe. 1,000 thoughts rushed through her mind. She thought of the overdue heating bill, the broken zipper on Leo's winter jacket, the dentist appointment she kept postponing because she couldn't afford it. Just one bundle, her mind whispered. He wouldn't notice. People like him never notice. Her hands trembled as she stepped closer. The smell of leather and polished wood filled the room. She reached out, then stopped. Her mother's voice echoed in her head, the way it used to back home. If you lose your honesty, you lose yourself. Maria pulled her hand back as if burned. She closed her eyes, fighting tears. She knew how easy it would be to justify it, how many people would say she deserved it. But she also knew what it would do to her son if she crossed that line. Slowly, carefully, she closed the safe door. She wiped her fingerprints off the handle with the edge of her sleeve, not to hide guilt, but out of instinct. Then she did something unexpected. She sat down at the desk, took out a piece of paper, and began to write. Daniel returned home earlier than usual that day, his chest tight with anxiety. He had security cameras, of course. He had watched from his phone as Maria entered the study, as she froze, as she stepped closer. When she reached toward the safe, his jaw clenched. There it was, he thought. Proof that people were exactly what he believed them to be. But then she stopped. He watched her step back, close the safe, and sit down. Confusion replaced his certainty. When he entered the study and saw the envelope on his desk, addressed simply to, "Sir," his confidence completely unraveled. Maria stood in the doorway, her eyes red but steady. Daniel picked up the letter with hands that suddenly felt old. It was written in simple English, careful and respectful. She wrote that she had seen the safe open and wanted him to know. She wrote that she was struggling, that life was hard, but that she refused to teach her son the wrong lesson. She apologized if closing the safe overstepped her role. At the end, she thanked him for the opportunity to work in his home and said she hoped he would never doubt that some people still chose honesty, even when no one was watching. Daniel sat down heavily in his chair. The letter blurred as tears filled his eyes, something that hadn't happened in years. He thought about his own childhood in a small Ontario town, about his father who worked 2 jobs and once returned a wallet full of cash to a stranger. He remembered asking why, and his father answering, "Because that's how you sleep at night." Somewhere along the way, Daniel had forgotten that lesson. He had built walls so high that he no longer recognized integrity when it stood right in front of him. He stood up and walked toward Maria. His voice cracked as he spoke. He told her the truth, that the safe had been left open deliberately, that he had wanted to test her. Maria's face fell, not in anger, but in quiet hurt. She nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of his confession. Daniel apologized. Not the polished apologies he used in boardrooms, but a raw, human one. He told her she had reminded him of the man he used to want to be. That day changed both of their lives. Daniel gave Maria a raise, paid for Leo's dental care, and offered flexible hours so she could attend her son's school events. But more importantly, he began to change himself. He started trusting people again, supporting immigrant families in his community, and volunteering quietly, without cameras or headlines. Maria continued to work for him, not as someone beneath him, but as someone he deeply respected. Years later, Daniel would say that the most valuable thing he ever found in his safe wasn't money or documents, but the reminder that character reveals itself in moments of temptation. And Maria would tell her son that honesty didn't make them rich overnight, but it gave them something far more powerful, a life they could be proud of.